Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur here in Hava Shalom in B'Shemesh. Welcome to everybody in Kol Lashon Torah anytime in our YouTube channel. We are in Daf Tzadi Vav Amud Aleph discussing the topic of Shoyel and Be'olov Imoy. Yeah, what happens when the person borrowed something, the person borrowed an item, and sometimes if a person borrowed an item, although usually he's chayav, he's obligated to pay whatever happens, but in case the bailim, the owner, did some kind of work voluntarily or for money for the shoyel, then the shoyel is exempt. If it happened at the same time that he borrowed the person and his job and borrowed the item, right? That's generally what we spoke about. The Shiur le'ilu nishmas Avi Meir Menachem Ben Akiva Rus Bas Shalom Sol Bas Moshe Rochel Bas Avrom Lerefu As Pnina Chai Bas Geula Rochel Gabriel Tzvi Ben Keren Lerefu As Aviva Bas Devoiro Le Bas Etel Chaya Lerefu As Eric Ben Eric Yitzchak Ben Miriam Chaim Ben Sete V'Soch Shochol Yisrael. Now, we said yesterday the following, and this is an introduction. We are now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sadivav Amadal from bottom of the page. You have to take 6.5 lines. The line starts with the word Bechol Mokoim, and then Omer Le Rav Ilish. In the middle of the line is Omer Le Rav Ilish. That's exactly where we are. And now we have to give a small introduction regarding what we said yesterday. We know that there's a rule that says Bechol Torah Kula Shlucho Shalodem K'moisoi. A person's shliach, a person's messenger, is like the person himself. Yeah, if you send someone to do anything halachic, you send someone officially appointing him to be your shliach, and you say, you mekadesh a woman for me, megarish a woman, take meiser, be a kohen beis hamikdash. Okay, there's not exactly the same, but similar. He's your shliach. Whatever he does works for you. Whatever action he took relates back to the meshalech, to the sender. Now, the question is, what happens if a person sends someone to what? To actually send someone to lend a friend. Let's say I own a drill, and someone asks me, Akiva, can you lend me your drill? And I'm not home. Then I'm asking someone else, I'm asking my son, I'm asking a neighbor, can you please go into my house and lend the drill to my friend? And also, can you, on my behalf, help him with the drilling or make him a cup of coffee, anything? What did we say then? Because the Torah says be'olov imoy, it says be'olov twice. Be'olov means possibly it's a machlokes that here we don't say shlucha shalodem k'moisoi. Be'olov means its very owner. Only if the owner himself went and helped the shoyel, then there is the exemption. Then there is a ptur. But if you send someone, then we don't say that. Now there were two reasons why we say that. It says either because be'olov repeats itself twice, or, and then answers the question, Shlomo, you asked yesterday about what would Rabbi Yonasan do with the other thing. So the answer is the word be'olov means the bailim only. Just like by Nedorim, we saw, right, the opinion of Rabbi Yoshia that says that a man cannot appoint another man to annul the Nedorim of his wife, right? Because it says Isha. Ish, the word Ish means dafka, particularly this Ish, her husband. Just like, a husband cannot send another man to do other things with his wife, he can also not send a man to do the Nedorim business, right? Isha, dafka, particularly the men. So to Bailim, the word Bailim means davka the Bailim. It doesn't say anybody, a person, Bailim. The Bailim himself, yeah? So now that's what Rabbi Yosha learned. Rabbi Yonasan says, no, I don't think the word Bailim or Isha means particularly him. It can mean a shliach too, like we call it Torah Kula. Now comes a new question on top of that. So basically, what are we saying? Machlokes, whether when it comes to be'olov imoy, sending someone instead of the real bailim to do the job for the shoyel, machlokes, whether we say shlucha shlodem k'moisoi or we don't. That's it. Omer le Rav Ilish le Rove. Rav Ilish asked the question to Rove. Omer le Avdoi. Let's say a person told his Eved Knaini, not an Eved Ivri, Eved Knaini. A person told his Eved Knaini, Se v'ishol im parosi. You, my Eved Knaini, go and give someone my cow, and at the same time do the work for the shoyel instead of me. Mahu, what would be the halacha? You would ask, what do you mean? It's the same thing as shlichus. Who cares whether it's an eved or not? Says the Gemara, no, it's a completely different question. The question applies both according to Man de Omar over here, Rabbi Yonason, that by regular people who are not avodim, we apply shlucha shalom k'moiso here. And if another regular free man did the job instead of the original owner, you say, yes, it's as if it's the Bailim, and it is Ba'olav Imoy. There's still a question regarding an Eved. Soon we'll see why. And the question regarding Eved is completely divorced from the regular question of a regular person, and therefore, even if you say Shluch Shalom Einoi Kmoisoi, even if you say that here in particular the Torah wants Dafka the husband, or in this case Dafka the owner, and we don't say that the Shlich is good as a real person, there's still, it's sad to say that by Eved it is going to work. How come? Now the Gemara is going to explain where Eved is different to anybody else in both extremes. Tiboy, continues the Gemara. Tiboy leman do'omer shlucha shalodem k'moisoi. Even according to man do'omer shlucha shalodem k'moisoi, and if I send my good friend Yitzchok to lend someone my drill and also drill the hole, and it's going to be ba'olav imoy because the shliach is like the original person, hani mili shliach, that is only true, hani mili, that is true, that is so, shliach, a regular shliach, the bar mitzvahu. The word bar mitzvah doesn't mean a boy that just started putting tefillin and wears a hat many times. Bar mitzvahu means an eved is a regular person, is chayiv b'mitzvahs. A regular person, regular Jewish man, is chayiv in tarik mitzvahs. Aval eved, an eved, the lav bar mitzvah, loy. Let me explain. An eved is not chayiv b'mitzvahs like a regular person. He's chayiv b'mitzvahs like a woman. So what? Who cares? Says Rashi, the point is not chiyuv mitzvahs. The point is the fact that the Eved doesn't own anything, which means when I say to you, be my shliach to take maestros, I can only ask another person, this is an important yesod, I can only ask another person to take maestros instead of me if that person also is what we call in the parsha, is obligated and connected to the story, right? I cannot send a goy, I cannot send a cotton, cannot send whoever, In other words, I can only send people who are also obligated. And you know how shlichus works? His obligation becomes mine. His spot becomes my spot. An Eved doesn't own anything. As opposed to a woman, even a married woman who does own money in many occasions, many times not, many times yes, an Eved never owns a dime. It cannot be. Mashakona Eved kono raboy. An Eved does not own any money, and therefore an Eved can never, ever, ever, ever be a mash'il, can never be a lender, and therefore he's just not in the parsha. Just like I cannot send a goy to Mackenzie, Abdul Rahman, to be Mekadesh a woman, because he's not in the parsha of Kiddushin, so too I cannot send an Eved to lend someone. Of course, technically I can. He can handle the drill, but he'll never be halachically a mash'il. Because if had it been his own money, there's no own money. He's not in a parsha. He's like a goy vis-a-vis money, right? He's penniless. That's the point. Rashi says bar mitzvah here is just like mitzvah, so to by money. If you're confused, excuse me, the Ritva asks your question. Same level. Ritva doesn't like the pshat of Rashi. The Ritva, so yesterday says no. Rashi, he's angry with Rashi. Says bar mitzvah, doesn't say bar money. Therefore, the Ritva says no. Ritva says poshut, because the Eved is not chayiv the same mitzvahs like the person, not the same level. She just cannot do shlichus. Nothing to do with the money. It has to be a person of the same level. Now, oy dilma, or maybe. Now we learn the other way. Afila leman domar ein shlucha shalodem k'moisoi. Now taking it to the other extreme. Even according to man domar that says shlucha shel odom is not like him, meaning that over here, as opposed to B'chol Torah Kula, is an exception to the rule, and Shlichus doesn't work, because the Torah wants Be'ol Lov, Isha, only that person, Hanimili Shliach. That means Shliach is another person. The Torah says, I want you, and only you, to do it, and nobody else can do it. Aval Eved, when it comes to Eved, Yad Eved Kiad Rabo Yidamya. Listen to this. Funnily enough, it's true that an Eved doesn't have his own money, right? An eved is not a person of its own. An eved, the hand of the master, is the eved. Yad eved ki yad rabbi. An eved is like an extended arm of the owner, and therefore, when the Torah says, "I don't want other people to do the hash'ala in order to get the ba'al avimoy," only the owner himself. That's other people, right? Other people means they do an action, and it's misyaches back to the owner. Eved is not another person. Eved is so attached to the owner, he's a part of the owner. So maybe Dafka that is going to work better. Get the question? It's very cool. In other words, we have Eved both ways. Either Eved is the worst one to do the shlichus because Eved is not in shlichus because Eved is not in the parsha of money, or you say no, Eved is the best one because even if shlich doesn't work, that shlich is a foreigner. Shlich is a different entity, but Eved is the same entity. It's a part of the body of the Adon. Mimen is going to work, and you still remain in the question. No, the answer is coming now. So now Rova answered of Ilish, Mistabra. It makes sense to say Ad Eved ki Ad Rabbi Damya. What makes sense to me to say the Svara is to say Ad Eved ki Ad Rabbi, which means because the hand of the Eved is like the hand of the owner. It's Kilu, the same person, Mamish, a third arm, a tentacle, and therefore what? If the Eved, on behalf of his master, lent the drill to someone, of course, under the Odoin, and at the same time did a job for the shoyel will be potur, because it's as if the owner himself did the work for the borrower. The Seder, that is Adkan. Now we come to another question. We come to another question about again, nichse milug. Nichse milug. Ignore the bottom part of the luach, only let's look at the top part, and that we're going to see later. Even that we only have to see later on. No, you don't even have to see it. No. Let me give you a small introduction. We all know what nichse milug is, that's for sure. We know about nichse milug. Why is it that Chazal established the concept called nichse milug? Why can't a woman, I'm asking seriously now, why can't a woman just own a field? She owned the field before she got married? Yes. She came into the marriage owning a field, owning a house, owning a 5-star hotel. And Halacha says that the Baal has to be involved in it one way or the other. The traditional way is nichse milug, which means she keeps owning, she stays as she is the owner of the hotel, of the house, of the petrol station, gas station, whatever. And the husband is the one who takes the profits. However, he cannot do whatever he wants with the money. He has to support his family or invest it wisely. That's halacha. Now, why is it so? Why do we say that the husband gets the payros? I'll tell you why. Because Chazal made 3 takonos of husbands having to get all kinds of benefits from the wife in return of the husband doing a favor to the wife. For example, it's in Subas Daf Memzain. It says over there, Tiknu peroseo tachas pirkoino, pay and pay, which means, let's say a woman gets captured. In some countries, it's quite common. In the past, it was quite common. People fall into captivity. Now, a husband whose wife fell into to the hands of the mafia, of the whoever, the kidnappers, husband may say, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'll try, but who's supposed to pay for it? The government, the police, the community. Be a bit more Jewish, the BSD In. Yeah, says Allah, no, Mr. Husband. You are obligated to pay money, could be a lot of money, to the kidnappers. It's your obligation towards your wife to free her and liberate her with a lot of kesef, money, and geld, all 3 things. Yeah, in order to give it to them. Now, a Baal can get resentful and say, I'm not a billionaire, and then why should I get the money? Where, what from? Says halacha, it's true that you're supposed to have some kind of security money, insurance money in the side for what? In case she gets kidnapped. You know what? You're going to get in return the payros. If she has any land, or not only lands, by the way, we saw also a cow, right? Yeah, it could be a car nowadays, or a cow, or bicycle, or computer, whatever that is. She owns the body, but you get the monthly benefits from it. You can rent it out. Yeah, you can do things with it. Okay. And in return, payros for pidyon. Yeah, you do pidyon shvuim to her. In return, you get the monthly dividends, the money from her assets. Oh, that's just a fact. I'm only giving you background. Soon you'll know why the background is important. to the concept of nichse milug, which is very famous. On top of that comes a question. Imagine yourself the following scenario, which can be very common. A woman owns a car. She's the owner of the actual car, for sure more than him, right? We said yesterday. It's a question whether the husband has part of the goof. He only has the Paris, the exterior layer, so to speak. She owns the car. He drove the car, and he totaled the car. Well, it's her car that he's using. Usually it's the other way around, I know. Yeah, but let's say it's a reverse world. She owns the car and he totaled it because whatever, he drove like a maniac. Okay, now she's going to come and tell him, now pay me. Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Husband, you owe me the body of the car. The body of the car belongs to me. Let's say he did not drive like a maniac. Let's say he drove nicely and there was an oinus, some Michigan, he was standing very nicely by the traffic light. Some Michigan motorcycle bump into him. He has to say a goimel. Okay. Lemaisa, the question is, now we're very, very ready and ripe to jump into the Gemara. A husband in his wife's assets, shoyel havi or soicher havi? That's the question. You see what I've told you? There was an oinus. He borrowed her. It's not borrowed. He uses her car. He's allowed to. He's the owner of the Paris. But at the end of the day, she's the owner of the body. So how did the Torah actually define that funny relationship of her owning and he's using? Usually when I use someone else's item, I'm either a shoyel or a soicher. What's the difference? Shoyel is free of charge. Soicher is hiring the car with charge. Now, a shoyel is chayiv in oines. A soicher is potter boines. I don't have to repeat that. That's a question. The husband totaled the car and it wasn't his fault at all. There are ADM and cameras and everybody knows. Oh, the question is, does he have to pay her or not? Do we say that now? Yeah, you may say a third option, and please keep this for yourselves. But right now, we're only viewing two options here. And remember, the one asking the question is Rami Bar Choma. We're going to go back to that name again and again. Rami Bar Choma is asking a question. The husband, beoinsin, somehow messed up the car, the cow, the land is different, whatever. The item, is it like a shoyel that has to pay even beoinsin, or is it like a soicher that doesn't have to pay beoinsin? That's a question. Now, what the Gemara is going to do now, don't get confused. Before we find an answer, we're trying to actually figure out what the question was. Yeah, we're going now because I know I know you people are all amazing. Don't get confused. We're about to now find out exactly. I explained to you the question, but the Gemara is going to question the question. The Gemara is now going to find out what exactly is the question of Rami Bar Chama, and only after 3 attempts we're going to give an answer. Get ready for that, okay? I'm preparing your mindset here. Omer Rove is now commenting on Rami Bar Chama. Lefum chulfa shabashta. Lefum chulfa, the learning was so quick that he made a mistake. Yeah, Rami Bar Chama must have made a mistake when he asked such a unintelligent question. Rove says, and not me. Must be Rami Bar Chama was learning too quickly, too charif. Shabashta, mishtabesh, he made a mistake. Why isn't it a question? Why is that not the right question? Says Rav Manafshach. You tell me 1 second. Let's stop right here. At what point, now she was an owner of a land before she got married. She bought a land. She was a billionaire. She had a lot of assets and hotels and things, right? Okay, well, I don't know, when she was 20. Okay, at 25, she got married. At what point does he become the owner of the Peiros? When? Get married, Mazel Tov. Oh, Dishoma puts the ring on the finger. Very nice. Breaks the glass, although that's not so important. Yeah. At that happy second, what happens? 2 things happen, my friends. He becomes what? The owner of the Peiros, which may be Shoyl or Soicher. Now, you tell me, is a woman obligated to serve her husband, to serve him supper, to make his bed, to wash his feet? I'm not making things up. It's a Gemara in Ksubas, the good old days. Yeah. Yeah, the Gemara in Ksubas, a Mishnah in Ksubas, even if, of course, some say even if she has 100 maids, 100 servants, she still has to serve in personal things. She has to do the laundry, she has to do the sponja, or get someone else to do it, or not get someone else. It's a shaila. Yeah, in Daf Zayin about that. Yeah, oh, so 2 things happen. Are you not following what I'm saying? Even if you're telling me that at the moment when he gave the ring Aret Mekudeshesli camera, what happens? He becomes the borrower, and she, the lender, becomes what? Server. Be'olavimoi. Hey, Be'olavimoi. Be'olavimoi. Even if she doesn't give him a cup of coffee only after the Sheva Brachas, it doesn't make a difference. her obligation to serve him, the Rishonim say, is 24 hours a day. Not that she has to be a slave, but conceptually, she has an ongoing chiyuv to what? To do things for him. 1 second, please. Let the Gemara ask, and I'll hear a question, I promise. Rob is asking, you're asking a very, what you call, hypothetical question. This question does make a difference. Or in nice English, who cares? Let's read the question inside. Manafshach, whichever way you look at it. Is shoyel havi, let's say it's a shoyel, a big chiyuv. Shaila bebailim. It's a shaila bebailim. Because the same second he became an owner, or let's say, call it a shoyel, call it a shoyel, yofi. He became a shoyel, ring on the finger, he knows she has a lot of lands, now you know why he married her. And now, shaila bebailim, because why? She became now somebody who's supposed to serve him, right? Even if she doesn't, but be'etzim she has a chiyuv. So it's be'olav imoy. He's soicher havi, and if you call him soicher, schirus bebailim he. We long ago established the be'olav imoy, although written in the Torah only about shoyel, applies to all 4 shomrim. So excuse me, Rami Bar Chama, or maybe it's not Rami Bar Chama who's wrong. Maybe people misquoted Rami Bar Chama. But the question says, Rava, I don't want to say stupid. The question is irrelevant because whether it's shoyel or soicher, it's surely be'olav imoy. Because the very same second that he became the owner of the land, excuse me, not the owner of the land. Okay, a shoyel or soicher of the peros, of the dividends of the pomegranates that grow in her field. At the same time, she became his helper, and she's supposed to help him now. And again, I'm repeat. Don't ask me that she didn't serve him a cup of coffee yet, because it's a nice wedding. It does make a difference. She has a chiyuv to serve him as many coffee as he asks within reason, right? And mimela what? Mimela is be'olav imoy. Shlomo was first, and then you. Yeah. Question time. Excuse me. Question break. Everybody online. A few good questions were asked here, so I'm going to answer all of them online. Basically, you're asking the woman when he puts the ring on finger, she has to do all kinds of things for him. He also has to do things for her. That's true. But the Lamaisa, his chiyuvim towards her is to support her, love her, give her intimacy, da da da. It's not so much of a physical service. Her chiyuvim are real physical, to serve him food, serve him water, make the bed, and that's more like be'olav imoy. Second answer to your question is, I don't think that it evens it out, as far as I know. Even if the shoyel does something to the mashal to the shoyel, it's still called be'olav imoy. I don't think it's balanced anyways. Kach nearly, as far as I remember. Your question, people, the bailim, why do we say, the baal, excuse me, why do we say he's a shoyel or a soicher? He's the owner. True, that's a question. When you only own peros and you don't own the body, meaning you have consistent, permanent permission to use it all the time. But how? Are you allowed to use it like a shoyel or like a soicher? Are you chayv be'oinsin or not chayv be'oinsin? The Gemara at the end of the day will say like you're right. But right now we don't say that. The question is, how much is the obligated towards her in cases of accident? Now answers the Gemara, Ella must be, okay, Ella. Fourth line from the top. Rami Bar Chama, of course, did not make mistakes. Rami Bar Chama did not say what you thought he was saying. You know what Rami Bar Chama was saying? I'll tell you what happened. And here comes our story over here. Okay. The story was as follows. I'm sorry if it's a bit blurred here. At the month of Nisan, giving introduction to the Gemara, there was a Shiur. She was not yet married to him. She, the woman, Shprinsabela, let's call her, she's the owner of Rent a Cow. She's the owner of Rent a Car, Rent a Cow, Rent a Bike, okay? And she was maskir. She rented out the cow, let's say, to who? To a customer. And then they got married. It's a shidduch story. 3 months later, they got married, okay? The Seder? So first of all, there was chirus, and he is a soicher, and he doesn't have to pay for oinsin. And then, when they got married, what happened then? Then it became what? Wait. It's too late for be'olav imoy. That's all vort. 1 second. That's all vort. 1 second. It became now, he's wearing a new hat. Why is he using the cow now? Not because of the chirus. It's because now he gets it, the peros, as a husband. The agreement changed. Let's see it in the words of the Gemara. And before we continue, thank you both for reminding me. Before we continue, we have to remind ourselves, be'olav imoy is a race. Who came before who, right? In other words, if the schirus, excuse me, if the shiloh or schirus, whatever, yeah, there was shiloh of the item before what? Before the service was given, then it's not Ba'al Avimoy, right? True. In other words, if the renting happened when? Earlier, and she became his sort of servant, his service giver later, then it's not Ba'al Avimoy, right? It has to happen at the same time. Oh, so now let's see what the Gemara answers. Ki ela kik ela, we're changing gears. Ki kami baile Rami Bar Choma. The following question is what bothered Rami Bar Choma. The following scenario: the ogar mino poro. First of all, the first part of the story, ogar mino poro. He rented from her a cow. The hadar nosvo, and then he married her. Okay, so what happened here? Shoyel, and now we say mai. Shoyel havi or yisocher havi? Is a shoyel or a soicher? Now it's a relevant question. Why? Shoyel havi. If he's a shoyel, if he's a borrower, then what happens? The asya she'elo bebailim mafke aschirus sheloi bebailim, which means if he was a soicher over here, the earlier point, there's no ba'al avimo. She didn't do any service, right? And if this would be continued the whole life, then what? Of course, he'd be chayev. Yeah. I mean, let's say it's a shoyel. Does make a difference? Shoyel or surch, says. What happened next? They got married. And now they changed from schirus to she'ela. If we say that after the chasan milug is she'ela, is considered as borrowing, then we say, wait, it's a whole new agreement, and that agreement is what? Bebail of imoy. Everything that happened before is dead. They're not anymore renter and a client, the husband and wife. It's a new agreement. And in that agreement, 1, 2, 3, boom. The second the ring is on the finger, two things happen. There's a new agreement called she'ela. Everything before is canceled out, all X'd out. And at the same moment, she has to be giving him services, it's bolavimoy. And then he would be potur. However, oidil masoicher havi. But if you say that it's not she'ela, if you say that this is schirus, that after the chasana it's called schirus, then we say the schirus kedekaima kaima, because originally there was schirus. He rented the cow from her, and now they got married. It's also called schirus. Then it's the same thing. It's the same continuous thing, and there is no ba'al avimoy, because first of all the schirus started in Nisan, and then later she became his service giver. Why aren't you happy? Okay. Answers the Gemara. Beautiful. The Gemara, very good in Mechavan to the Gemara. Zog the Gemara, Umay Shno. Who cares? Wrong. The Ishoil Havi, if you define the marriage, Nichse Miluk, the new agreement, as She'ela, the Asi She'ela, Bebailim, Mafkeo. What's Mafkeo? Breaks away, annuls, cancels, throws away. Schiros Shelo Bebailim. If you say that the Chasan is the whole new agreement, you know what the Ritva says? It's as if he gave her back the cow and she gave it back to him at the chasana. Again, let's understand something. It's two different agreements. Yeah, originally, yeah, she was a person behind the desk. Hello, I'm your maskir and soicher. That's just, you pay me. That's why. Once it's a chasana, it's a different agreement. What is it? Nichsemilug, right? Even if she wasn't a maskir, if she was a secretary of a lawyer, doesn't make a difference. Nothing. It's a new agreement. Oh, wait a second. If you're telling me that the borrowing over here defined as borrowing, and now it's a new agreement with Ba'al Avimoy that annuls and cancels the previous agreement of not Bebailim, and therefore is Potur, if so, he's Soicher Nami, then even if you define him as a Soicher, as a renter, it's the same thing. Havi, Tesis Chirus Bebailim, Tepuk Chirus Shelo Bebailim. Then the schirus, which was bebal of imoy, is a new schirus. Who cares that this is called schirus and this is called schirus? It's just semantics. It's a new schirus. That's what you're asking. Who cares if you call it she'ela or schirus? Doesn't make a difference. Again, let's repeat. If we're saying here that originally she rented it or lent it, whatever, that's a schirus. That's agreement number one. Now he's supposed to rent it for how long? Rent a car for 2 months. Long ben azmanim. Chofesh gadol. 1 month into it, they start, liking each other, shidduch, the renter and the thing, and they got married a month later. Then it's a whole new agreement of what? Nichse milug. Even if there was no renting before, it sees not because he's a renter, it sees because he's a husband who gets paris because he's supposed to salvage her from who? From the mafiosos. It's a whole different story. So whether you define it as chiros or she'ela or whatever you want, it's a new agreement, which is a whole new, fresh kickoff, new start. And in that new start, of course, it's be'olavimoy. Define it as chiros or she'ela or as my, I don't know what. At the end of the day, this is what? At the end of the day, this is a new agreement with be'olavimoy. Ring on the finger means he gets the pairs as shoel or socher, and she has to start serving him water, making him supper, and washing his laundry. So it's Ba'alavima regardless. So again, what's the difference between Shaila and Chiros? What does Rami Bar Choma want from Shela versus Chiros? Does make a difference? That's the question. Ella, now we are getting to the final answer, meaning the final understanding of the question. We're still trying to understand Rami Bar Choma's question. We're not giving answers yet. Shows you how the Gemara thinks deeply. Ella, Kika mibai Rami Bar Choma. You know what's the question, Rami Bar Choma? Oh, look at that. Look at this. Yeah. Look at. Right. Yeah. Ella Kika mibai like this. I want to remind you before we continue of a Mishnah we had in Daf Lamedaled, I think. That's a Mishnah Machlokes Chacham and Rabbi Yossi. Once upon a time, there was an owner, a Bailim. Let me reverse the video. 1 second. And that will make it clearer. Oh, very good. What happens if an owner rented out for money a cow or whatever you want? Yeah, okay. Rented for money. If something dies unexpectedly, suddenly, be'oines by the socher doesn't have to pay, right? Good. But the socher didn't do that. What happened with the socher? He lent it for no money to someone else, and he died over there be'oines. A shoel has to pay. A socher doesn't have to pay. Machlokes Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi. Chachamim say, listen, the socher can make a shvuah to the bailim. I saw, let's say it's true. I saw that the cow died unexpectedly, heart attack, oines, and the socher swears to the bailim. The bailim is out of the picture. The bailim is out of the chessboard, and the socher makes good money because now the socher said to the shoel, "Who lent you the nice cow that died by you? And you, shoel, you pay ba'oinsin. Shoel pays the socher cashes in. That's chachomim." Says Rabbi Yossi, I don't like that business. How can one make business on the back of his friend? Says Rabbi Yossi, no. The bailim, and I'm not going to the lomdus now. There's a lomdus over there. The bailim can say, I want the socher out of the board game. You socher, that's says you can tell the socher, I don't hear your shvuah. I don't get your edim. I'm not interested in you getting off the hook so quickly. Stay there. Hold back, and I will directly go to the shoyel. I leave you out of the picture, okay? And I, the bailim, will directly go to the shoyel and say, the cow happens to belong to me, not to the one who actually gave it to you. And he died by you by accident. I learned in Cheder that the shoyel that dies by accident has to pay. So Machlokes Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi again. If bailim socher shoyel, that unhealthy triangle, do we say the shoyel pays the socher, or do we say that the shoyel pays the bailim? That's a machlokes. We're not going right now to the lomdus. There's a question if it's a din in the shvuah, din in the misa, but that's a machlokes, right? That's why I'm making it here so clear this way. Now, we'll have to wait for the next wave. Yeah, Ella. That's going to be the final explanation. Keep going. The agra ihi por me'alma. She, the woman now, that's the woman. In our story, let's add one word, secheres. Oh. Our woman, the kala, before she got married, she rented a cow. As a girl, she rented a cow from Mr. Owner, Maskir, and she's a socheres, she's a renter. The Hodar Nasva, Mazel Tov, later on she got married. Okay. And you know what happened? Who's using it now? The husband is using the cow that she rented. Okay. And what? And now the cow died, be'oines. The cow got a heart attack. Now comes the question. However, we preface the question like this. According to Rabbanon, that say that the business has been shown to the soicher, loti bailach. Then we don't have a question. Who has to pay the woman? Her husband, the shoyel, right? Even if he's a shoyel, which has to pay more, has to pay for oinsin, does he have to pay her? No, because she lent it to him the second the ring was in her finger. And that same second, she's mechuyev to do a lot of laundry, not the 9 days, a lot of socks she has to fold, and a lot of laundry, and a lot of cups of coffee, and a lot of suppers. According to Chachamim, no question. It's a closed business between husband and wife, socheres and shoel. This guy's out of the picture. And because the socheres, which is the mash'ilah, the lender, at the same moment is also doing him service, he's out potter, and the bailim is not going to see bechlal his cow, because she will swear to the bailim, I hereby swear I saw the cow dying, or bring edim. Otherwise, it's a different question. And good, out of the picture, and she's also out of the picture because bola bimoy kiti bailach. Now we're finally getting to the question: who cares if it's a shoyl or a soicher? The question is according to Rabbi Yosi. The Omer tachzor por lebailim arishonim. According to Rabbi Yosi, I don't care that they made a nice wedding. At the moment the finger was on her, the ring was on her finger. We don't care that she has to make him coffee, tea, laundry, and take the kids to school. Who cares? She's not really the one in charge. Who's the one who's gonna claim? Who? The bailim. She's out of the picture. That makes a difference. My. Shoel havi or soicher havi? Very, very simple question. She's not in the picture. The one who's going to come angry to Mr. Baal is the Baalim. The one who will come to the husband, the shoel, is the owner. And she's lokashu to the fact there's no Baal of Imoy. Because why? He's the one who remains the Baalim, the one that you have to answer to. You have to give answers to him. He never did any service to him. He doesn't know him. Maybe he does. No service there. So now comes a very simple question: is he a shoyel or a soicher? And it's a very, very, very simple question. If it's a shoyel, he has to pay for oinsin. If it's a soicher, he doesn't have to pay for oinsin. That's it. Life is simple. Again, let's summarize. We're talking here about what we finally found out, not the answer. We found out what the question of Rami Bar Chama was. Yeah, when people hear a question of Gemara, they have to let it sink in a long time. You hear a question. The question is, again, there was an owner who rented out the cow, the car, the computer, whatever to the woman, right? Now she got married, and now Mazel Tov, she's now, whatever she has, the Baal is allowed to use, including the rented stuff, which is the Chiddush, right? And now we say, okay, it died by the husband. If we say that the business is between the husband and wife, like Chachamim, then Ba'olavimoy, she's the one who lent it. She's considered to be the lender. And at the same time she lent, she's also mischayev to do tons of housework, household things. Sure, he is exempt. But if you say that she's out of the picture and the one that you got to give answers to is the original owner, him, no service, no shmervis, I'm sorry. And then it's a simple question. If you view the Baal always using his wife's stuff as a borrower, then he has to give. A shoyel died by accident, that's oinus. A shoyel has to pay by oinus. Every kid in Kita Dalit knows that. If he's a soicher, then he does not have to pay by oinus. That's simple. Allow us to give a short answer, then I'll hear your questions. What's the answer? What's the answer at the end of the day? Finally, we know. The question is about using his wife's stuff. Is he a shoyel or a soicher? Bal lo shoyel havi v'lo soicher havi is neither one of the two. Ela lo keach havi. He is keilu, he bought it off her. As you guys kept saying, he is keilu the owner. Let me now, 1 second. Yes. Okay, nice. Now let us explain. He is like the owner. What does it mean that he's the owner? Let me ask you a question. It's a machlokes Rishonim. Most Rishonim learn it means like that. If I sell you something, yeah, if I sell you my phone, yeah, I do not recommend that, not such a great phone. I sell you my phone, yeah, are you chayev be'oinsin? Ma pitom, it's yours. You said goodbye to the shop owner. I'm never going to see you again, right? The chiddush is a Baal and a wife, although they maintain the relationship all the time, the Baal in his wife's property, he's like an owner, as you guys were saying, you should be happy, and therefore he's not chayv anything, not even pshia, because he's the owner. He owns the peros. It's as if he bought the peros of her, the rights over the peros, and therefore, what does he chayv to her? Zero. Even if it's a pasha, it's none of your business, lady. You're the owner of the goof, and I'm so sorry your car was totaled. Maybe at the divorce there will be a different story. I'm not going now to the shailas afterwards, but lemaisa, yeah, mitzad the actual chiyuv as a shomer is not a shomer. He's not chinam, not sachar, not nothing, and not a shoyel. He is an owner. It's clearly bought it off her, and therefore, even if it's pshia, he doesn't have to pay. That's most Rishonim, including Rambam, Ramban, many. The Tosfos says no. Tosfos says that is like a shomer chinam, he has to pay b'pshia. Tosfos says shomer chinam. There's always machlokes Rishonim. I don't know if you noticed. Some Rishonim learn that there's never ever chiyuv. There's never ptur for pshia. We saw it twice already. We saw it by Ishtaris and Karkoes. We saw it before, yeah, by Levimoy, right? There's always a question, pshia, yeah. Some people say it's like a sacred thing. There's a limit how much you can be bought. Pshia means complete negligence. The Tosfos says to be completely negligent of a wife's business, that you cannot do. But most Rishonim say, yeah, I'm the owner of the Paris. I'm the owner of the Paris. Even if I was Poshet, I don't have to pay anything. And Lemaisa, therefore, he doesn't have to pay to the original Bailim, the renter, the one renting out. I mean, the rent-a-cow guy doesn't have to pay him either. That's the. We're going to bring a proof for that. But I'll let you ask a question, and then we're going to prove the point of a Baal being like a buyer and not anything else. Yes? How much? Before we continue, I was reminded, and thank you, who cares that those pairs are in lieu, are kilu, as return for the husband rescuing her, being a Superman, rescuing her from the mafia, from the shaboim, for the pidyon. Very good. That would be a reason to say it's a shomer socho, right? Or soicher, because there's money involved, right? On the other hand, true, that's nice, but we say no. We say it's in return of what? Of him having the obligation, the headache, and the monetary and the expenses of freeing her from the mafia in case she gets Khalila captured, then he's not a shomer sacher. He really gets the body of the Paris. He gets the Paris himself. It's as if he bought the Paris. That's how we define it. It's actually takona susha. We could have defined it as him a forever renter. As long as they're married, it's a very long lease, and he rents out the fruit. But we chose, and soon you'll see why, in the Beis Din of Usha, they made a takana that the husband will be more than a soicher in return of him willing to and having to free her, to rescue her. Yeah. In return of that, he really gets the body of the Paros. And he becomes like a customer, like a buyer, and that's at the Konas Usha. The Beis Din, you know the Beis Din, now it's almost the 9 days. We know Beis Din had 10 places that they had to go into exile. Places in Yerushalayim, Usha, Shfaram, Yavne, I don't remember the order. Usha was one of those places. So, if you don't mind, I'll continue now, because that's very hot on what you were saying. We defined at some point the husband using the Paris as compensation for having to rescue her. We define that as the real lokeach, as a customer. The Usha hitkinu. They made a takona. One of the establishment, the takonas, the decrees they made in Beis Din of Usha is as follows. Ha'isha shemochro benichsim. A little introduction here. Today I'm big into introduction. Listen to this introduction. Let me ask you a question. Let's say a father has a lot of money and a few children. They all started fantasizing about the Yerusha. Of course, they love daddy, but they're also thinking of, closing the mirpeset and buying a new car once he's dead. I don't speak nicely, but let's say science fiction, yeah. And now what happens? The father is very smart, and he wrote, and he actually made a kinyan with his best friend, yeah, with somebody else that he likes more than the children. And he told the friend, listen to this, I hereby makne to you, yeah, I makne to you, the kinyan, whichever kinyan sud or chlipin, I made a kinyan, yeah, the kinyan will kick in, yeah, the second I die, the kinyan will kick in retroactively. The children are out of Yerusha, no new car, no new house, right? In order to trick them, he pulled the rug from under their feet. True. He sold the land. He's still using it now, but he sold the land. The second he's dead, the kinyan will kick in. Lamafreya, not lamafreya. Stories of Avasa. Don't get me there again. A second before, very good, very good, very good, very good. A second before, good. The kids are, as we say in Hebrew, imalashon b'chut with a, okay. Why? Because the kinyan, he can be makne, right? Give officially, legally, and matana, what? The chiddush is even out. You can do it now to be effect to take effect later. What about the husband and the wife? Can a wife say, listen, I don't know the relationship with her and her husband, but now there is a land that belongs to her. Typical classical nichse milug. It's her hotel, her gas station. You know what's a gas station? Yes. And what? And then a petrol station. And then what? Who's using it? Who's pumping up the money? Excuse the pun. The husband, right? And she wants to give matana, or she sells it for money to someone else to take effect once she's dead. If I die before my husband, yeah, she's already now makne with kesef, shtar, chazoko, no, godo poratz to her friend Shulamis, Dvoira, whoever. She is now selling another person the land the same way. No, so now the husband, after the woman's death, will stay, yeah, out of it. Why? Because she gave the nichse milug to someone else to take effect the second before she's dead. So once she's dead, the husband will not be yoyresha. The husband will not inherit her because she already gave matana before her death. Says the Gemara, Takonis Usha, she cannot do that. Kaz Usha and Usha sabotaged that behavior of the wife, avoided it. I think now you're ready to get the pshat. Ha'isha shemochro benichse milug b'chaye baila. A woman sold her nichse milug to someone else when the husband was alive. Okay. The Mesa, she died before him. No. So now the customer, Shulamis, will say, I'm the owner because you know why? 5 years ago, your late wife sold it to me. Says the husband, habal moitzim yad lekuchois. The husband will get it out of the customer. Why? Because we defined him as a customer, not as a regular person who's just a borrower or a soicher. He's a huge nafkamina. 5 years ago, my wife sold it to you. Ha ha ha. 35 years ago, we were under the chuppah, and once I did this, automatically, obviously with the ksuba, the land became what? The Paris became mine, right? And there was only her temporary ownership. As long as she was alive, she owned the land. But be'etzim, I own the Paris. Once she is out of the land, automatically, I'm the owner before you. I became a lakuach. If it was not a lakuach, just a borrower, of course, if the rich man in the first story lent his car to someone, of course, once he's dead, of course the kids take it back from the borrower, obviously. But if he gave the car to someone else, then the kids are with a rug pulled under the feet. And that is a huge nafkamina from the husband owning the nichse milug, and not stam being a borrower or a shoyel. He owns the Paris, and it really owns everything. As long as she is alive, she's kilu stopping him from owning the land. Once she's dead, then his entire ownership is expanding all over the place. And that is really, it happened before the new customer came. He was the first customer before any later customer. We have to continue. We're a little bit tight on time. What? Yes, it's even more. Yeah. Takana Susha. Yeah. Could be it wasn't like that before Takana Susha, but that was Takana Susha. I said that, right. Now comes a new question about me'ila. What's me'ila? Me'ila means if a person, excuse me, give me the word. A person took mistakenly, I'm not talking about b'mezid, if a person mistakenly either used or moved to a new reshus, a new domain, an item belonging to Ekdesh, to Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, there was something belonging to Beis HaMikdash. That doesn't mean it's in Yerushalayim. Let's say a person has in his house some items, and the person says, I'm not saying this seriously, those colors, those markers, I'm not saying this seriously, yeah? I hereby consecrate them to Beis HaMikdash. They belong to Beis HaMikdash. You're not allowed to use them. If somebody else uses them mistakenly, he has to give a korban, right? Osham Meilos, he has to give an Osham, Chomesh, and if he takes them to his house, from one domain to the other, he also has to give back plus a Chomesh plus a korban. That's a basic halacha. Now says the Gemara, Omarove, by Rami Bar Choma. Another question about Bar Choma. Bal benichse ishtoi mi mo'al. What happens if the husband actually gets his wife's nechosim benichse milug, and is he considered to be a moyel? Moyel, not a moyel of a baby with a hey, moyel with an ayin, which means explains Rashi like this. Really, the question is as follows: let's say the father of the woman dies during her marriage, she gets Yerusha, and within all his stuff, he left a lot of stuff in his house. One bag of coins was hekdesh, and they didn't know about it. The husband and the wife. She is an heiress, right? Now her husband gets the payros. It becomes nichsa milug. What she inherits becomes nichsa milug, and he is the owner of the fruit of the payros. Is that considered me'ila? Meaning, there was a tzad to say, unbelievable, that even if the husband and wife don't do anything, the mere movement from one domain to another through Yerusha, once the father, the owner of those holy coins, closed his eyes forever, returned his soul to its maker, it moved from one domain to the other. It became the woman's and her husband. Maybe that alone is me'ila, and they have to bring a korban. Wow. There was hekdesh. They were. And now it's ki'ilu. Is it considered ki'ilu they took hekdesh money by mistake from his house to their house, even though they didn't lift a finger? It just happened automatically by death. I know it sounds strange. Amarove, man limol. Who is exactly moil over here? Limol, Baal. You want to tell me that Baal was the moil? The tera nichele delikni. Isura lo nichele delikni. You can't force a person to acquire something he doesn't want, right? In other words, the Baal, obviously only wants to get, this is a normal Yerushalayim person, is a normal frum person, he only wants to get what he's allowed. What he's not allowed, the house has 10 million little things over there. Whatever is osir in the house, he doesn't want to own. He can't force a person to own. Maybe the woman should be the moil. She doesn't want to get anything at all. I don't know, some people are not girls de tera. She doesn't want to get the Easter either. Nimalu Bezdin. The Gemara says the Bezdin are the moil. Who is the one who decided of nichse milug business? Who? The Bezdin. Rashi says an unbelievable aside that every Bezdin of this generation are keilu restarting to Konos Chazal. It's keilu, you know who told you to light Hanukkah candles? The Chachomim of today's generation of Tashrim Pei Gimel. Big aside. So maybe those Chazal that restart the concept of nichse milug that started 1,000 years ago, maybe they're the moyel. Because it's keilu, the rabbis, the Rabbanim in Beis Din, they said, oh, husband and wife, you get that money and you split it that way. And the question obviously is again, why are you saying that they're moyel? Ki ovdu Rabbanon takanta v'omu ba'al lokeach. When Rabbanon said they made a takon and they said the husband, like in Usha, the husband is like lokeach, he's the new owner here. Avilei tera l'isur lo Rabbanon takanta. Of course, Rabbanon did not mean to make a takon l'isura. Yeah, Rabbanon mean, obviously, if it's something mutter, you become the owner. Let's say a woman owns over the Zora. I don't think Chacham would say, oh, well, great. Let the husband use the payros and let everyone bow down to the get and take money. Obviously not. Chachamim only apply their general takana of aguf shaloi, a payros shaloi, in a thing that's mutter. So what are you talking about over here? Elo marove. Therefore, Rove comes with a conclusion. Once the husband uses the money, and who is the one using the money? The husband. The woman keeps it, and she may ask it, in return from him when they get divorced. It's also shal. It's more so in Balzen. But lemaisa, the husband, if the husband takes the coins out in order to do business, and hopefully the profit he'll give back home, and he took out the coins mistakenly to do business, to do something with it, then he's the moyel. Me did have it just like a moitze l'chulin, just like any other moyel that takes the hekdesh money into chulin to use it for secular needs. So to the husband, once he takes the money, he's the moyel. Now, I'm not sure what the chiddush is over here. I wanted to look in the Rishonim. I did not see any clear thing here because I don't know what the chiddush is. Of course, I mean, Maybe I don't know. Maybe because he's not. Maybe the Havana is because he's not the real owner. The Chiddush is that even though he's not the complete owner, mamish and the goof, he still can be moil. Maybe I want to look it up, Lineder, and let you know tomorrow. Let's just quickly start the new question, and then we'll have, if you want time for questions. Iboilu, another question. Kichesh boso machmas melochomai. Let's say the shoyel, which we all know is chayev on everything, Shia, Gneva Vaveda, and Oines is chayav on everything. Now that you see that the animal is emaciated, the animal is too thin after a month of hard work. He worked hard with the animal in the field back and forth plowing, and now the animal is thinner. What did we say a few days ago? The shoyel must feed the animal and feed it well, making sure it doesn't get thin. But let's say it didn't thin out because of bad nutrition. You worked hard. Yeah, when you worked in the gym all day long, yeah, you have muscles, not fat. Yeah, you took it to the gym. One of the Rabbanim called Rav Chilke bar Avia. He replied and he said, Michlal, wait a second, Michlal. That is to say, you're trying to tell me the Chimeisa Machmas Melocha Mechayev? If you're asking me, what happened if he worked hard? He wasn't starved. He worked hard and became thin. What's the halacha? That sounds like your question is only about thinning out, about the diet. But what happened, mashma, that if he died because of hard work, he worked and worked and worked into its death, then it's mechayev? Then you want to tell me that a shoyel would be chayev? You're asking me a fine-tuned question. He became thin through hard work. Mashma, that if he died because of hard work, then it's clear to you that it's chayev. That's we're asking a more refined question. Is that so? The famous line, Nema, I would say, Lavli ukba bekilta sheilta. The shoyel can say, as much as I'm a shoyel and chayev on everything, I did not borrow it to place it under the canopy in the kilta. I did not borrow it. No. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I'm so sorry. No. The borrower says, excuse me, the borrower says, I did not borrow it in order to keep it, in the Photoshop, to keep it, to use. As shoyel, as chayev as I am, you know that I mean, as long as I'm using it in the normal way, not in an abusive way, not in a way that's not supposed to, it just worked and worked and worked, and the battery's gone. Old cow, a lot of work, but you're okay with me working the field. You knew what I'm going to do with it. I'm not chayev. Ela, and this is a famous yisoid. Ela marove. Lo mi bai ki cheshbosar machamas melocho depotu. Not only if the animal only became thinner because of hard work, regular hard work, not too hard. Regular work is potu, and I feel mesmachmas melocho nami potu. Even if the animal that's the only ptur of shoyel, even if the animal, or actually, even if he died because of work, then he's potur. The omerlei, because a shoyel can tell the mashil, lav leukma bekilta sheilta. I did not borrow it in order to put it in the canopy, to put it under the canopy, to put it in the room. I borrowed it to work. And that is a kula. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa, let's say drill. You worked a lot with the drill, and the drill broke toich kedei normal work in a way that seems to be related to the work, not stam oinus, yeah? To do the work, I'm not pesach halacha, I'm not a dayan, but there are cases, svarim, let's say use the sefer in the normal way, and there's normal wear and tear. Oh, you borrowed the sefer, the guy knows you're a big masmid, you borrowed your neighbor's Gemara, and he knows, you learn it again and again, and it doesn't look crispy and nice, yeah? You flip the pages many times, yeah? I'm not a pesach halacha, but as far as I know, they say that that's like, mesa machmas malacha. Yeah, normal wear and tear, because that's what I borrowed it for, not to put it in my, vitrage. And therefore, in that case, we say that it's potter. Thank you very much. Shkoyach, questions are welcome now. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day to everyone on YouTube channel. Kol halashon and Torah anytime. Thank you. Hatzlacha Rabba.